Hey guys, welcome back. This is tutorial number 7, part 5 now, I guess. What we are going to do is finish building our cooking script. And what we've got to do now is go ahead and update the details pane and determine whether or not we can cook or not cook on that data. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to call our method to determine what data should be displayed over there on the right. And so we'll say if our index has changed, so we'll just store what our current index is, and we'll only look for if it's changed. When it changes, then we'll go ahead and process a change to set the detail window with the appropriate item. All right, so let's go ahead and close this test and get back into it. Okay, so when our list is being displayed, or before our list is being displayed, we have our index was being known. So what we're going to do is we're going to say last index, and we're going to also set that to 0. So that says, you know what, actually we're going to set that to -1. The reason why is because when we update our windows, we are going to check what the current index is and what our last index is, and if they do not match, it's going to set them equal to each other, and then it's going to set the detail window equal to the item that we've got selected in the left window. So let's go ahead and go through and do that. The reason I'm setting this to -1 is that means that no matter what I do, the first time I enter the scene, it's always going to refresh that to whatever the current index is, and so if I don't have anything, then it's going to automatically set that for me. Okay, so we'll go through and we'll say if last index not equal to list.index, so in that case that they do not match, then we'll set the last index equal to the list index. So that sets it so that it shouldn't just keep on happening again. And then we will say update details. All right. So here we can say update details. And our details window is going to refresh with the current contents of what the list item has selected. So let's figure out what is selected in the list window. So we're just going to employ this same method over here through that in order to figure out what we've got selected. But this recipe ID may not always return or actually, we don't need the remaining data. All we needed was the recipe ID from what I think. Let's go up and take a look here. We said recipe was, yes, it was going to be the ID. So we can actually fix that so that it's a little bit easier to understand. We'll put it like that so there's no question about what it is. Alright, so let's go through here. Let's actually finish updating each of those. That it's going to get its data, and okay, we're good through the rest of that. So we'll come back down here now. So we're going to just say window, so it's details dot refresh, and we're going to pass it that ID. Okay, so for example, if the party has no items, then what, or I'm sorry, if they have no recipes. If they have no recipes, then this value is always going to return nil. Why? Because a empty array has no elements, and if you request any particular element, then it will tell you that that element does not exist. It will return nil. So it will always return nil, and if it's nil, then it means that this refresh it's already got the handling on it on that side to say, well, if it's nothing, then don't refresh. So it shouldn't crash on us, so we don't need to worry about that. So this is all we're going to do is we're going to fetch the ID, and then we're going to set that details. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this one more time, and we'll go ahead and check that. So new game, I'm going to talk to our guy up here. There we go, and here. Alright, so here we can see it says high potion. That's the item which we're going to be crafting. Underneath that we have the icon for it. And then next we need to display the description. And then underneath that we're going to go ahead and apply the next step, which was the ingredients, and then to make that high potion. So we've got all of that data displaying now. We can go through and figure out the ingredient stuff. I think with what I've already showed you guys, you probably should be able to do it. So I'm not sure if I want to actually go through that because it might take a little bit. But what we need to do though, you know what? Actually, let's go back into that test one more time. I want to show you something. And this is going to be that when we set the details window to active, what you'll see is this. So we're going to hit enter, which is going to set the active over to the right. And here, because we didn't define an item max or anything, it just says, alright, well that's where my current rect is, because it says, alright, well if the index is 0, then it must be at least the width. I never defined an item max. I never defined a column max, etc. So it's always going to be right there. So what we need to do is we need to define a column max, a item max, and then we need to go on that and define where that should be displayed. So we'll go back into the item rect method, and we're going to update it to that particular window so that it only displays at the bottom, and then we'll tell it to render both the options of cook and don't cook. Alright, so we will get down here and we'll say draw options, and the draw options will always be the cook and don't cook. Okay, so let's go ahead and say self.contents.drawText, and we'll say this one is going to be located at 0x and the width minus 32, and that is going to be divided by 2 because there's going to be 2 items down there. And then let's see, height, we're just going to go window line height. And then here we're going to say cook, and we're going to make that center aligned. And then next we're going to do the don't cook dot draw text, and this one here is going to be offset by this width. So let's actually just say W equals that, and so here we can just put W. So we put 0, I'm sorry, not 0, we put W. No, I skipped one. The Y position. We need to put the Y position. So we need to figure out what Y we need to place at. So here is our height of our window. So we can actually just call that by saying height. And we're going to minus 32 from that because that is the size of the borders. And then we're going to minus window line height from that. What that's going to give us is as close to the bottom of that window as we can, but high enough that we've got the room to display what we need to. Okay, and so it is X, Y, width, height, and then height for the box that we're going to draw in, what we're going to draw, and what alignment it should have. Okay, so we're just going to copy that. And what we're going to do is we're going to offset this one here by the width of the first one. And this is going to be don't cook. Alright, so we've got cook and don't cook at the appropriate X offset and so on. It's going to be center aligned. The only thing though is that cook may be disabled. Okay, so we need to go through and draw it disabled if it's disabled. So let's go ahead and say, or figure out whether or not it should be disabled. So we've already got our recipe data up here. So we'll say recipe data, and I believe it was item number 2, which it was. Okay, so we are going to say, oops, I went too far. If that is greater than the current game party cooking level, then we're going to store the font color self contents.font.color, and then we're going to set the color now equal to color.new. We'll do that same one, and then we're going to go through and draw that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually just going to put our else on here. Let's actually store the color beforehand, and we'll say self.contents.normal. Let's just say normal color. Okay, we'll draw that, and then we'll set the normal color again, or yeah, do it that way. Normal color, because I guess we don't actually need to store the color, because we're just going to set it to this if that one needs to be drawn in that. Otherwise, we're going to draw this one in normal color. Alright, so now those should draw. So we've got those drawing, but the rect is still going to be in the wrong place. But we also need to set our item max to 2 and our column max to 2. Why? Because we need it to do that automatic separation of those. So all we need to change for our item rect, so let's go up here and pull that method for item rect. Just going to copy it, and we're going to add that down here at the bottom of our window, because we're just going to redefine it in this particular instance. Now the deal though is that we don't actually need to entirely redefine it. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it. So we're going to alias it so that we can keep our previous one. So we're going to say item rect cook detail item rect, and here we're going to call our old one with the index, and then that is going to return a rect. And so from that, we're just going to set the y, rect.y equal to, and we're going to push that down to the bottom. Since we've already figured out where that's going to be, we're just going to put that equal to that. So all we're doing is we're saying, well, rather than being at the top of the window, I want you down at the bottom of the window. Okay, and so now we just need to return rect, and then it will throw it back up through the exact method it expects, and we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and add the unless $at onto that so that we don't have any options there, or alias, or I'm sorry, F12 restart issues. But I think we should be good. Let's go ahead and step through that one more time and just test it to make sure that everything's displaying in the appropriate places. This is really the hassle of creating menus, is the fact that you have to constantly go in and retest in order to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be, and so on. Alright, so we've got the message over here on the left hand side displaying whether or not the item should cook or not cook, etc. And as you can see that the detail window here is refreshing with the appropriate data as well as the picture that it should be displaying. And the cook and don't cook are disabling and so on appropriately. Although don't cook should be grayed or should not be grayed out because, well, we haven't said or we said we wanted it to restore the normal color before we went on. So we'll get to that. But if we click over here, we can see that it is in fact circling those appropriately. So we've now done all of our graphical stuff that we're going to do. We can go through and finish defining the ingredients and stuff like that. But let's go through the actual process of determining whether or not you've got the ingredients and so on, and we'll continue on from there. Now, this is actually taking me a little bit longer than I had originally expected. So I think I'm actually going to cut it here. We'll actually continue on later. In order to finish building this, I'll go ahead and just continue with an additional part. But right now it is just past midnight. I'm getting a little tired. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and call it quits here. But do go ahead, leave your comments and so on. We'll go ahead and go through and finish building this. What I'd like to see is if you have any comments or suggestions on things that I've done, improvements that I can possibly make to that, to go ahead and leave those comments, and I may implement those or some things that you might want to see in this before I finish it, so that we can try to make it everything that you guys want it to be. So outside of that, let me just give a quick shout out to creationasylum.net. This has actually been my home web page for ages upon ages. This was actually the first RPG Maker website that I'd ever visited, and it is still out there and so on. I'm a moderator of their forums, but the thing I actually wanted to bring up as part of that is that as far as I am currently running a game creation contest over here called the Creation Asylum Game Rally. What the Game Rally is it is a game creation contest in which you would submit your particular project, and there is a possibility that you can win up to $50, and the runner-up would get $25, as well as these additional perks down here. So we can actually come down through. This here means that developer time. That means I can go through and help you create a script. Nothing too extravagant, but I would personally be donating one script to the winner of the Creation Asylum, as well as possible advertising assistance through Creation Asylum and so on. So anyways, come out, visit over there, and join the game rally. I'd really appreciate that. The more entries, the better. And yeah, okay. Well, we'll catch you guys all later. See ya.